Today we will be talking about the Wii U. In the eyes of many people in the gaming industry, the Wii U is suffering from lack of games due to third-party support. Accordingly, the Wii U sales numbers reflect that of its negative reviews. People obviously don't want a console that has no games and will never be played. This is a waste of hard-earned money that they could spend on other means of entertainment. A negative review on an entire console, however, is somewhat narrow-minded, especially when the life of a console is much longer than that of a game's. Being that the main argument is the lack of third-party support, Nintendo falls on something that the other two major consoles don't have: a large breadth of first-party games. The PS4 and Xbox One aren't that different when just comparing their libraries. First-party IPs that you can count on less than one hand don't exactly help differentiate, and the third-party support that these consoles have been boasting isn't really a deciding factor either, seeing as both consoles largely support the same third-party games. These games are also often outdone by their PC counterparts. With this being the case, why are consumers convinced that their Wii U would just be a paperweight? If Nintendo easily has a dozen exclusive titles, then why do consumers have the perception of other consoles having the better games? We at Steampunks have compiled 3 lists of the strongest games on all 3 consoles. Each game had to meet certain criteria to make the console's list. First, the game had to be exclusive to a console or not available through Steam. Second, third-party games are weighted equally on the consoles that have them. And third, the game has to be available to consumers at the time of upload.
Alright, yeah, so I don't really understand the whole internet opinion that is sort of existing right now in the gaming sphere as far as Nintendo being so far behind in the console space. I mean, obviously sales have been like slagging for Wii U, and since 2012 it's been out and it's only made about 10 million sales. And PS4 and Xbox One have about... they each have more than that, and they've been out for a year less. So I mean, I can see the image problem there as far as sales go, but the one complaint I hear from literally everybody that has a PS4 or Xbox One, and I am one of these people. I have a PS4 and I have a Wii U, but I have this complaint about my PS4 is I haven't touched it in months because there's no games to play on it. Yes, Somewhere Bloodborne came out like a few weeks ago or a month ago. Like, that's a certain kind of game for certain people. I mean, that's not everybody's sort of game. That's I would say that is kind of my game, but like, I mean, I'm playing so many other things right now, I just don't have time to pick it up at this point, and I'm so not interested in my PS4 at this point anyways because I've been playing my Wii U constantly.
Yeah, so for the PS4, like on the lists are compiled mainly of games that you can't find anywhere else outside these consoles. You can't play them on Steam. And yeah, so like Bloodborne is one of them on the PS4 that just came out. The Last of Us Remaster, Destiny, Infamous Second Son, PT. These are all games that you can't play on the Xbox One or Nintendo Wii U or on Steam. So that's kind of the point of these lists, is to like try and separate them just based on their libraries. And really, we tried really hard on these lists, and for PlayStation we only came up with 8 basic games that we could think of that PlayStation 4 you need to play. So that's Bloodborne, The Last of Us Remaster, Destiny, Infamous Second Son, PT, Mortal Kombat X, GTA 5, and basically any EA sports title. And if you go over the Xbox One list, it's basically the same thing, like Sunset Overdrive, Master Chief Collection, the EA Sports titles, Evolve just came out, Titanfall coming out at launch, and GTA 5, which is also on PS4. And these lists are so small. And we went to IGN, we watched their top 25 games on both consoles, and that's how we compiled these lists. We were trying to exclude games that you can find on other platforms, just to isolate the libraries on both of these platforms. There isn't much of a difference when you break it down like this. Like GTA 5 and the sports titles you can play across both platforms, so really you're nailed down to the 4 IPs that PlayStation 4 has. And PT is just a trailer of a game. It's not really a game, and we already know that Silent Hills has already been canceled, so that's kind of disappointing as well. Destiny was also kind of disappointing. The Last of Us Remaster is just a remastered game from PS3. Like it's a new IP, but it's not really a new iteration in the franchise. Sunset Overdrive was a new IP that we saw, and that looks pretty cool. I haven't played it, but I know people who've played it, and I haven't got anything but good reviews. And I've seen on Metacritic that has a good score, and everybody's been giving it good reviews. So it seems like a game that's marketed towards like a teenage group, but from what I've heard, it has more adult themes in it than what you would see on the surface. The Master Chief Collection, like you got the beta for Halo 5 online, and then you just got the rest of the Halo games, and they're all up-resed and they look great and stuff, but is it really worth it just to get a console just for that game? And like that's kind of the point of all these lists, is like when you're coming down to buying a console, it's really about the games, and like depending on which games you want to buy, it's gonna depend, or it's gonna determine which console you're gonna buy. And Titanfall coming out at launch last year for the Xbox One, I think was really, being that that's only on Xbox One, it's kind of, I don't want to say that it hurt it. To be on only Xbox One right at launch kind of hurt it, just because the Xbox One doesn't have like this consumer base already. You're basically gambling on like how many Xbox Ones are going to be sold over that Christmas break, because Titanfall came out the following February. Evolve is a game that I've been wanting to play.
Yeah, Evolve actually, we have it on the Xbox One list, but I'm pretty sure it's a cross-platform title, and it's on Steam as well. So I mean, whatever. We included it on the list just because we needed to kind of fill these out, which I mean proves a point within itself. But Evolve looks like it's kind of cool in how it's gonna like start a new genre. I think almost like that sort of 4v1 multiplayer co-op sort of deal. I've already started seeing other games on Steam that are like taking other sort of genres and combining that gameplay element with it. Like they've like can't remember what the one game was called. I'll have to look that up later, but it was a survival horror game with the same sort of four players on one team versus like a monster. It was like a ghost. Yeah, that was so like that looks like pretty cool stuff. I mean, it took an existing IP with Alien 2 and then and like made that into something even more interesting. But I mean, that's something that you can get on Steam, you can get it on PS4, you can get it on Xbox One. That's not really a defining seller for any machine. And then so basically I don't really understand why there's such a homogenous market across the board with all these three machines. Like with a PC, you can essentially own almost any title that is on Xbox One or PS4 at this point, except for a very small handful. And it's just really confusing to me that people like vehemently argue on the internet that these like the PS4 and the Xbox One are so worth owning and they're so worth merit because for some reason or another, because like they have great games that you can't get anywhere else. I don't think that's really true at all. I mean, I have to justify reasons to buy games on my PlayStation 4 at this point, because on Steam I can just find anything I want, anything and everything I want that's on my PS4, except for maybe Bloodborne, Madden, and The Last of Us. And honestly, I don't really want to play any of those at this point. Yeah, so it's such a straight up like same market across all three of those machines. I don't really understand why anybody is so willing to defend any of them. And then Nintendo is such its own beast. I mean, I don't really understand such hate and such resentment for the Wii U, and it's such unfounded arguments against it. There's so many different titles that you can't find anywhere else. There's the Virtual Console with the whole back catalog of every game that Nintendo's ever made. I know they're not all on there right now, but they're like constantly putting new ones up. If you watch the new Nintendo Direct last month, they actually are starting to add Nintendo DS and N64 games, so that's actually really cool. And they're adding new ones like every week. Like it's not something that they're just like throwing up and then forgetting.
This is coming from people that own a PS4. Like I played Destiny when it came out. I was excited to play that and surprisingly disappointed. I played Last of Us on the PS3. My last console before I bought a Wii U was a PS3, and I played that for years. So I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. Like I'm trying to defend these consoles, but it's really hard to when I break it down into these lists. We mentioned that we had trouble coming up with 12 games to put on across Xbox One and PlayStation 4 that would be exclusive, somewhat not third-party games, because those games get spread across both consoles usually, and all of them are usually on Steam. We wanted to include third-party games that aren't on Steam and only on consoles. That being said, these are the lists that we came up with, and we didn't put a lot of indie games on the consoles just because there's so many of them and we haven't played a lot of them, and a lot of them end up coming out on Steam anyway, so we excluded a lot of indie games.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm about to review Titan Souls. That'll be coming up on our channel soon, and I had to I was right about to buy it on Steam, and then I was like, wait, maybe there is justification to buy it on PS4, and lo and behold, just because I'm a PS Plus member and I pay the $60 a year, they give me a $3 discount on this indie title that I just happen to be picking up because I'm doing a review on it.
We did not have the same problem with the Nintendo Wii U, like, just off the top of our heads. We could think of games that were no-brainers to buy, easily accessible by anybody, and so we highlighted some of the IP titles that we felt were the strongest over the last year. This is just on the games that you can go to the store and buy right now. This is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Super Mario 3D World, Bayonetta 2, Mario Kart 8, Virtual Console games, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, Pikmin 3, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, Pushmo, Hyrule Warriors, Wind Waker HD, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Those are all games that you can go, and if you own a Wii U, you can buy all of those games. They're all exclusive to Nintendo. You won't be able to play this on Steam. You can't play this on the other consoles. And this is really the argument that we're trying to make, is that how does a console that has these so many games across so many different genres still fail to compete in comparison to PS4 and Xbox One in the perception of the consumers? And that's the main thing, is that I see people on the internet all the time condemning the Wii U, saying it's a dead console and like no one ever plays their Wii U because there's nothing to play on it. And that's just a false statement. There's so many different things to play on it, and like anyone who has a Wii U should be proving you wrong.
And it's like a statement on marketing more than anything. I mean, how much money of that $500 million that was spent on Destiny was put into advertisements, and specifically for PS4, even though it was a multi-platform game? Yeah, a lot of money. So, I mean, like, everybody knew about that game, and of course they did. And so, like, that's one game that's on two consoles that nobody would shut up about for 6 months. Sorry, maybe 3 months. I'm pushing it. That game did suck. The point is, I don't think Nintendo just has the steam in the marketing that they did when the Wii U first came out. Everybody just forgot about it now, and like, it's really sad, honestly. Like, the people just have such short attention spans that they can't pay attention to a console for 3 years and see all the fantastic stuff that's coming out for it. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is probably the best game we played last year, or it's at least in my top 3. It's such a masterfully done platformer that you're really missing out on something special if you don't play it. Pikmin 3 I just finished, and that was probably the best game I've played in the last 5 years. That's including a few other titles or handfuls, but it was such a good experience that it exceeded every expectation I had in a sequel. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse was a great sequel too. I mean, it used all sorts of amazing new visuals.
Yeah, so the Wii U's launch was November 18th, 2012, which means it's only been out for not even 3 years yet. The console still has a lot of room to grow into the different games, and the developers have a lot of time to work with the infrastructure they've been given via the gamepad. I'm going to make the argument that in the first 2 years of Xbox 360's and PS3's life cycle, did you see like any games that you would still play now? Like any games that were still stellar? Like, I remember playing Uncharted 1, and that game is horrible compared to like playing Uncharted 3, and like that came out in the first year of the PS3's life cycle. And I see everybody on the internet complaining all over the last year when they bought their PS4s and they bought their Xbox Ones that, oh my god, there's no games for these things. Like, we've been duped. Like, we have no games to play. We bought these expensive machines that sit on the shelves. And it's like, well, maybe it's because you didn't do enough research to see like which games were coming out. And I know that's a lot to do with the developers lately, just because a lot of games have been getting pushed back, and especially one that I've been waiting for, which is Witcher 3, has been pushed back multiple times. I was really hoping to include it on this list somewhere because I thought it would be a powerful argument for the other consoles, but I think that's also on Steam anyway. I think that the other two consoles have obviously done a great job at marketing, as bad as the Xbox One's marketing looked at E3 last year, or at the E3 before their launch, they did get a lot of publicity just by saying that like all these things are going to be wrong with your Xbox One now compared to your Xbox 360, like Kinect will always be on, and DRM and stuff like that. As much as that's like bad for them, they still had the eye of the nation drawn towards them more than they had, more than Nintendo had. And that's like really the deal, I think. Like Nintendo does very well in Japan. They do very well on their 3DS systems, and I just don't think that the Wii U has really hit its mark in North America yet, and I think that's the problem and why not a lot of people have picked up consoles. And I picked up my console in Q4 of last year, and they made a profit. Nintendo made a profit in Q4 of 2014. They sold enough consoles, and they sold like a record amount of Wii U consoles, I think, for its lifespan. And for its lifespan, the Wii U is only 2 years old. Like, people need to give this thing time. Like, developers need to see what the system can do before they want to develop a game for it. And like, developing a game takes 2 or 3 years, especially if it's a new IP or something like that. So really calling the Wii U dead at this point is kind of overshooting the mark. It's like calling the PS4 dead, like basically right now. That's like saying that if Sony came out with an announcement next year saying that they were working with a new tech company, that would mean that the PS4 is dead, PS5 is coming out within the next year. And that's what people have been spreading on the internet, is that Nintendo, because of this NX announcement, that Nintendo is just abandoning ship on the Wii U, and they're just going full on with this NX. It's going to be out in 2016, and I don't buy it at all. People are reading into that too much. Here's the official statement from Iwata, from Satoru Iwata, CEO of Nintendo. This is the statement that he made. As proof that Nintendo maintains strong enthusiasm for dedicated game system businesses, let me confirm that Nintendo is currently developing a dedicated game platform with a brand new concept under the development code name NX. It is too early to elaborate on the details of this project, but we hope to share more information with you next year. And he made that statement in March of 2015. So what I read from that statement is that he wants to share more information with us next year, which is 2016, and that'll just be like some graphics, I think. Like, that's not even going to be anything. Like, remember when we were starting to first see the pictures of PS4 and Xbox One when they came out and stuff like that? I honestly don't. If Nintendo is working and planning on a new console launch, I don't think you'll see it until the end of 2017. It doesn't make sense for the Wii U's life cycle to be so short, because if it comes out at the start of 2016 like everyone's rumoring it's going to, then that would make the Wii U's life cycle about 3 years. And in my book, that's not even giving the console a chance to find a consumer base and find people who like the games.
Yeah, all I can really say is that Microsoft and Sony did a really great job at shotgun marketing before their consoles came out in like the 6 or 8 months leading up to their consoles release, that they just got everybody talking about them, and everybody knew exactly when they were coming out, like where they could get them, where they could get the pre-orders, how they could give Sony and Microsoft their money. And it's kind of sad that like advertising and like machine power is kind of taken over good games a lot of the time and people's opinions, and it's just really a bummer.
Yeah, so basically what we're coming away with is the Wii U is not dead. It is still very alive. It is a baby in its lifespan, if anything. And you need to go pick up a Wii U just so you can play these games and stop being so pissed off at the video game industry for not putting out games more regularly, or all these delays and things. Nintendo is literally putting out games every week. They put out a new game on the Virtual Console every week. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a freaking amazing game. You need to go play that. Super Mario 3D World, that's a great game. Go play it. Bayonetta 2, I had so much fun playing Bayonetta 2. Like, you need to play that game. And that's a game that you cannot play on other consoles because other consoles didn't want it.
And I enjoy making fun of anybody and everybody that has never played Smash Brothers for the Wii U, because they're peasants in my eyes. That game is amazing, and if you haven't played it, then you suck. I'm sorry.
And I know we've already made 2 Mario Kart videos, but Mario Kart 8 is the right way to do DLC in a game. That's the way to expand your game. That doesn't even feel like DLC. It feels like Mario Kart 8.5. We're probably never going to do a proper review for Pikmin 3. So we're going to talk about it right now. It is probably the best use of the gamepad on the Wii U. And everyone complains about the gamepad. When I was looking at pictures of Wii U's today, I saw pictures that people would just post of like dust covering their gamepads, or like somebody photoshopped like cobwebs and spiders all over their gamepad, and it's like, it's not like that at all. Like, I play with my gamepad every day. It works like a freaking tablet does. It works like your iPad does. It works like your phone does. Like, you can watch YouTube on there. It's so much easier to tap around the menu than it is to use a Pro Controller and point your little pointer around. And I know that people complain about that too, and it's like, well, you're kind of using the system wrong at that point. And I see people griping about the gamepad all the time, and I'm just like, look how many uses it has. Like, I can't count the amount of times that I've watched something on TV and just played Mario Kart using the gamepad, or like any other game for that matter. And there's a lot of Game Boy Advance games that are coming out on the eShop, and those are great to play on the gamepad. Like, you were playing those on a Game Boy Advance, which is like a similar kind of peripheral anyway. So I'm not really sure what the argument is, but like, it just seems like people want to make an argument why the gamepad is stupid because they think it's just obtuse looking.
Yeah, to reiterate about Pikmin 3, that was a game that like everybody wanted to see, and Pikmin 1 and 2 were so innovative and new, and everybody was so infatuated with it. Where was Pikmin 3? Where is Pikmin 3 for like 10 years? And then when it finally came out, nobody even bought it. And like, you people are what's wrong with the game industry. You're demanding games to come out that you're not even going to buy.
The gaming industry is an industry where you have to vote with your money. If you buy a game that's shitty, then that's basically just giving that developer money to go make another shitty game. And if you complain that you want this good game to come out over and over again, something like Pikmin 3, and then you don't buy it, that's telling the developer that nobody wanted this game and nobody played it. And that will reassure that Pikmin 4 never sees the light of day. And that's like how games like Madden keep getting made year after year, even though they're the same game over and over again. Enough people buy it to tell EA, like, we're making money off this. It's actually financially irresponsible for us to stop making Madden games. So I think we made a good argument for the Wii U. If anybody has any opposing statements, you can state them in the comment section and tell me off.
Please argue with us. I would love to see your arguments in the comments. I'm not even trying to be arrogant here. Just please, like, argue with us.
Yeah, we honestly tried to argue for Xbox One and PS4. Like, I wouldn't have gone and spent a bunch of money on a PS4 if I didn't think I was going to play it. And I honestly had a hard time making an argument with it. Like, there's not that many games that you can only play on PS4 and you can't play on other consoles, so, and that goes the same for Xbox One. But that doesn't go the same for Nintendo Wii U.
Alright, I'm Blake and that was Tanner. We're the Steampunks.